Hey everyone, it's Lance with Christianity Minute. Last week, Jesus had made a bold claim and offered proof that he could forgive sins, despite the priests thinking that he was a heretic. It was a calculated move by Jesus that couldn't have been planned any better. Check out that video right here if you haven't already, and be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our study. Well, this week, Jesus calls a disciple, but this one is really going to make the priests kind of question, again, what is Jesus doing? Let's read Luke chapter 5, verses 27 through 32. It reads, "After this, he went out and saw a tax collector named Levi sitting at the tax booth. And he said to him, 'Follow me.' And leaving everything, he rose and followed him. And Levi made him a great feast in his house, and there was a large company of tax collectors and others reclining at the table with them. And the Pharisees and the other scribes grumbled at his disciples, saying, 'Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?' And Jesus answered them, 'Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance.'" Levi, who you'll probably know better by another name, Matthew, know that I'm going to refer to him as Matthew from here on out. Matthew had a job as a tax collector. Now, remember that tax collectors on multiple occasions are synonymous with the word sinner. Why? Well, it comes from how a tax collector was to collect his money. Remember back in Luke chapter 3, verses 12 through 13, how all the tax collectors were coming to John for baptism of repentance, as commanded by John. And they asked John what they should do. And he replied that they should collect no more than what they are authorized to collect. Well, why was that? And why did Luke record that? Well, it's because tax collectors were often crooks. They would take the money that they were supposed to collect, and then they would demand more to line their pockets. Now, grant you that they were authorized to collect a certain percentage for their salary. But when you can collect more and nobody else be the wiser, hey, the world asks, why not? Well, was Matthew this way? I honestly don't know. The disciples were not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but Matthew would have been tempted to take this serious money available to be had as a tax collector. Remember that Jesus came to seek and save the lost. Jesus wasn't looking for saints. He came to save all men. And let's face it, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. It's especially evident in the following verses as Jesus goes into Matthew's home. Matthew prepares a great feast with many of his tax collector friends. It's important to note that Matthew can do this, so we can speculate a little bit without too much stretching that he has servants and a home big enough to have these people over. It's also not a big stretch to say he's probably married as well. So we already established that these publicans are despised people, and the priests are grumbling about it. They don't understand that Jesus isn't here to establish a physical kingdom. They want a king, and kings, they don't associate with these type of people. They're looking for the God that they have puffed up in their heads. And why would that God associate with sinners? Okay, Jesus then makes his statement that gives him the title of the Great Physician. Matthew is healed and begins to follow Jesus without any reservation. Matthew walked away from his job as a publican. He walked away from his home and possibly his servants and maybe family. He walked away from a life of riches and wealth that were legally afforded to him. Why? Well, to go on the greatest adventure that one could make. To follow Jesus. So let's not forget who we are. We are a people in need of healing. We have cares and troubles, and we have things that try to get in the way of following Jesus. We can't let those things drag us down and pull us away from God. We also can't let a world try to shame us into staying in that bog of sin, never to rise up because we have this fear of being ridiculed. All right, next time we'll begin with the Pharisees targeting Jesus and how he and his disciples live. They're not understanding that the old law is about to be fulfilled and just how much they've artificially trumped up the law of Moses with their traditions and arbitrary rules. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss it. Feel free to share this video, and if you'd like to donate, there are links in the video description. If you'd like to keep learning more, check out some of my other videos on your screen now. And I'll see you next time right here on Christianity Minute.